Hi there, Scott Hamilton, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast for your ears. Going to be talking about this new 2018 remix of the classic Pink Floyd album, Animals. The short version is, this is one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums. It has never sounded better. Go buy it in whatever incarnation of it you want. I'm a big fan of surround sound mixes. I have been waiting for this forever, literally since college. In my frat house, we used to lay on the floor. I stayed in the room 1 or 2 quarters. Wasn't conducive for good scholastic, environment and all that. But we used to lay on the floor in 1 or 2 different frames of mind, listening to this album with speakers put on the floor facing our ears like headphones. It was our way of simulating surround sound. And I've wanted a surround sound mix ever since. Pink Floyd has remastered and re-released their entire catalog over the last 20 years, and this album never came out. Now, due to whatever reason, we didn't get a surround sound mix with The Wall. That would have been great. But most of the other albums have been remixed in surround sound. I have those box sets. I absolutely love them. But Animals was out there. And I won't get into the history of it, but obviously the remix was done about 4 years ago, and there's been all sorts of legal problems in getting it into our hands since then. I'm going to talk about the final product here. So if you're a fan of the album, it does sound fantastic. This is a James Guthrie remix, so it's not drastically different than what you're used to. Much like what Steven Wilson did with some of the Yes albums, but a little bit more tweaking. Like, Steven's very much into keeping things as they were, just kind of bringing some things out a little bit more. In this particular aspect, that happened with this album, but he also added a little more reverb to here and there, a little more in the surround sound mix. I haven't gone back and listened to the 210 stereo mix yet, but I will. I picked up the Blu-ray because I just couldn't justify the box set. This particular box set had all the vinyl in it too, and that raises the price way out of my price range for what I consider to be a box set that I'm not going to use half of it. I don't have a turntable anymore. I got rid of all my vinyl. I'm not enamored with that classic format. If you love it, great. Not saying anything bad about it, but I like putting in a disc and hearing the whole thing. I like surround sound mixes, high resolution mixes. That's the way I've started to go in my audiophile listening. So when bands like Porcupine Tree and Steven Wilson and some of the other bands who have experimented with surround sound and high resolution files, I'm glad Pink Floyd's into it. So you get 6 different mixes on here. You get a DTS, supposedly uncompressed mix at, I believe it's 9624, and some of it is at 19224. You get the original mix. You get a uncompressed surround sound mix, you get a modern mix, and then everything is also uncompressed, and you get all of it again. So you get 6 different soundtracks on this one Blu-ray. You get audio options to listen to it in the various ways, and that's it. There's no extras, there's no videos, there's no concert footage, there's no documentaries. That is it. It does put up various pictures of the artwork. When they were going to do this remaster, this remix, they commissioned some new artwork from the original artist, Strom Thurgerson. And he did some new artwork that goes along with it. So while the album is playing, all 40 minutes or whatever, it'll go from a daytime shot to a nighttime shot to an artsy shot, and it will slowly seg between these. Now, when you put the disc in, it says Pink Floyd Animals 2022, which is interesting because the actual artwork on everything else says 2018 remix, but I guess they wanted us to know it came out this year. It's nice menus. It's got Pink Floyd icons, for the different buttons on all that. But I bought this for the audio mix, and it's incredible. I have never heard this album sound this clean. I did flip back and forth between the original mix and the new mix, and they're very close. This was a Pink Floyd album that was recorded incredibly well and has held up in all the different formats it's been released over the years. The remasters and such that came out did not do that much to this album because it was recorded so well. So things did jump out at me. It was like listening to a Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs version of this album, if you've ever heard one of those. Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs is a company that's done vinyl and high-end gold discs, CDs, where they've taken the original masters. So they don't really do anything to them. They clean them up, but they don't re-EQ them. They don't remaster them. They give you just kind of this flat version of how the album originally was. And some of Pink Floyd's albums have been released that way, and they sound incredible. Animals sounds like that. It just sounds like it's got a nice, fat, warm analog sound, even on the remixed surround sound mixes. It still sounds very, very clean, very modern sounding, good high end and all that. Maybe the bass has been tightened up just a hair. Like my subwoofer was a lot more punchy. It's usually more boomy on this album. When I listened to a 5.1 mix, all in all, though, I had no complaints. It doesn't immerse you so much like a movie. The surround sound mix is very tastefully done, with most of it coming from the front soundstage. Things like keyboards and sound effects are what comes out of the back more than anything. Sometimes a guitar is washed back there, or some other instrument. But for the most part, when they do the big keyboard beds and things like that, that will surround you, and all the surround sound, then the guitar will cut through, usually towards the front of the mix. A lot of music surround sounds go that way, and that's not a bad way for this to go. I've got some more interesting ones, like if you listen to the old Grateful Dead American Beauty. Not one of my favorite albums, but it's a good album to have in surround sound, because the mix puts you right in the middle of the band. Like they're recording in the living room and you're sitting in the middle. So you got a banjo in front of you and a drum over here and a guitar over here and a bass over here. And that was a very interesting mix. I think what Steven Wilson does with surround sound mixes is more in line with what you're going to hear here, with washes, sound effects, and other things mixed into it to give you an ambience around the music. But the music still mostly comes out of the front in the 2-channel mix. I will go back and listen to the 2-channel. This package did not give you any kind of download, so you better be happy with just the Blu-ray. You don't get a CD copy. You don't get a download of waves or MP3s or anything like that. Now, I have multiple copies of this album on CD. I have the original that came out on Epic Records. I have the remaster, and now I have this. I don't. It would be nice to have a CD copy of this, but the mix is really not that different. I'll do an A/B comparison with what I have with the remaster and the original mix to the 2-channel. I'll do a separate podcast for that. We're basically only talking about the surround sound mix here, which is the main reason I spent $20 on this. The artwork is good. It's got a really nice booklet in it. You don't get those a whole lot in audio releases these days, or music releases in general on Blu-ray. So it's a nice booklet. It's got an essay in there. It's got some details, got some pictures you haven't seen before, some action shots of them playing and recording the music. It really is like a 24-page, 30-page book. It's kind of nice. The Digipack packaging, I know it's great for the environment. I like hard plastic cases, but this is almost going to get lost to your collection because it's so thin. But all in all, what you're in for is the sound quality, and it sounds incredible. This is the best Animals has ever sounded. The surround sound mix will probably be my go-to mix when I put it on in the living room, when I still listen to the car or whatever. This is not an album I do listen to the car a lot. They're long songs, and they're kind of jamming songs for Pink Floyd, and they're anywhere from 12 to 17 minutes, except for the 2-minute-and-a-half acoustic songs that bookend the album. But it's still one of my favorite experiences, and sitting down with it last night was just, it took me back. It took me back to those college days in the frat house, thinking we were listening to it in surround sound. This is a whole lot better now. High resolution and wonderful. So if you're a Pink Floyd fan, I can highly recommend it. It goes in line with some of the releases lately that have just been high quality. A lot of them are a little pricey, but they're worth it because you're getting the best video and audio quality of the music and the content that you can get. So 2 thumbs up for this. I'm glad to finally have Animals and surround sound in my collection. I'm a happy camper. I'm Scott Hamilton. I'm ROCKFILE. Thanks for listening to yet another podcast about music where I can't play clips, but that's coming soon, I hope. Check out my links below and have a spectacular day.